What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is your retro review for the Real Housewives of New Jersey, season 3, episode 13. Okay, so listen, we are down we see Teresa is doing the photo shoot for her new cookbook. She wants to have her mom and her daughters in it, but baby, her daughters are not here for it. They are all over the place to the point where the photographer is like, we gotta shut this down. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't get anything done. She finally, just has her, Gia, and her mom, and even Gia is over it. Now, I don't know why Gia is over it, but Gia is always over it, it seems like to me. Like, she is very exhausted with her mama. But I feel like that's because she has to be the mama. Okay? But moving on. Then we see Kathy and Rich talking about the daughter Victoria. She's getting ready to turn 17. And they're having this conversation about, maybe it's time for us to have the talk. And Richie is doing this whole macho man thing of, no, my daughter you don't need to talk to her about sex. She's not going to have sex till she gets married. And, I feel like this conversation was a forced storyline. Because later on, we see her take her shopping for a dress. And she's all like, have you guys been talking about sex? Well, she doesn't come right out and say sex, but she's implying it. And she was like, has anybody talked about that yet? And she was like, we barely talking about party buses. Well, are there going to be any adults on these party buses? Kathy, stop playing with me. Your daughter's about to be 17 years old. This is the prom, probably the junior prom that y'all were shopping for, because y'all kept saying formal and prom interchangeably. So I figured it was like a junior prom situation. You know good and damn well ain't nobody mama or daddy gonna be on that party bus. The only adult on that party bus is gonna be the driver. Like, if you have not already talked to your child about sex at 16, then you have allowed other people to teach her about sex. That's on you. And if you, Rich, are that caught up, and I know men are, I've heard all the conversations. I know I have men in my family, and they are all the same way. But the reality sets in when the child gets to be about 13, 14, 15. Reality does set in. And again, once the young lady has had her menstrual cycle, that is where if you ain't had the conversation before, then you definitely need to have the conversation, okay? It was cute, but I just feel like it was a lie. I feel like it was real forced. Okay? Then we have Melissa in the studio, right? Now, I forgot to mention that in her conversation with Teresa last week, Teresa kind of made some snide comments about Melissa singing and that kind of thing. And I'm going to be honest with you, at this point, to be perfectly honest, I just think it's obvious that Teresa just has an issue with Melissa. And no matter what Melissa does, it just can't be right. Melissa just can't seem to get in a good space with Teresa. And I don't think it was, as long as Teresa is who Teresa is, I just don't think that's ever going to be a thing. I don't think Teresa is ever going to be able to, I don't think Melissa is ever going to be able to get in a good space with Teresa. Because there's no pleasing her. No matter what you give her, she wants more. It's always more. It's always something else and something else and something else. And you're seeing other people are starting to get very exasperated with Teresa and her unrealistic expectations of what everybody else should do for her. Carolyn, Jacqueline, they're all kind of just rolling their eyes at this point. Like, girl, I even understand, I know that one of the famous moments, we haven't gotten to that yet, where Joe Giudice makes a comment about Teresa talking about something, here come my cunt of a wife or something. I'm not defending him at all, but I kind of understand where it's coming from. At this point, I want to cuss Teresa out because it's just no winning with her. And she just always makes these nasty, passive-aggressive comments. Last season with what she did with Danielle at the Brownstone. Was it a bit much and was actually wrong for pulling Danielle's hair? Yes. But Teresa started that shit. And I don't understand why she got a pass. I didn't watch it in real time, so maybe she didn't. But I feel like the people on the show sort of gave her a pass. Carolyn was the only one I feel like that was kind of like, Teresa, you really, did you need to do that? But I guess because it got overshadowed with Ashley's issues with Danielle and Danielle pressing charges about the hair pulling thing. But Teresa started that shit. Anyway, we see Lauren further dealing with her issues with her weight. And I feel like it goes deeper than her weight, because she even said, we see her talking to her mom about losing weight and all of that. And she even made a comment and was like, well, I feel like even if I get if I lose the weight and I get down to my ideal weight, I still don't think I'm going to like what I see in the mirror. That's a bigger issue than her weight. Now, as somebody who has dealt with weight my whole life, I definitely get it. It's not easy. It's a stop and a start. It's a stop and a start. You lose some weight and then you feel good. It's now I understand how like drug addicts, because you lose some weight and you feel good and you're like, yes, I'm better. And then all it takes is one thing to just throw you off and you back to the bad habit. So it is a constant process. It is something that goes on and on and on. But anyway, but I feel for her because as someone who, like I said, I mean, y'all know I deal with my weight. It's not easy. It's not an easy process, especially when the people around you don't seem to have the same struggles that you are having. But in true Carolyn Manzo fashion, she's like, I'll be there to support her. And we see them working out later on in the episode. We see them, in the gym and working out and stuff like that. She said, look, I'll be here to support however I can support, Now, I did all of that to get all that out the way so I could get to the Ashley, okay? Again, girl, I know you don't live here no more, but baby, I just got to talk about this. So, Jacqueline and Chris, I guess, are so stressed out with Ashley and her behavior that they done flew in her husband. Well, he flew in. I can't say they flew him in. Ashley's dad and his wife flew in. And it looks like they have a really, really... Oh, did I say Melissa was singing in the studio? I went off on that whole tangent about Teresa that I never said. We see Melissa actually using her studio with her producers. And child, she sound halfway decent. I mean, it's a studio. Like, we know that they can hit the buttons. But neither here nor there, child. She living her dream, child. She living her dream. And let me say this. I think it is sweet that Joe built a studio for her to live out her dream. I love the fact that they could do it and that he chose to do it. Now, I know some of it was selfish. He didn't want her out the house for extended periods of time. But still, he did it. He could have just been like... He could have just let her go to New York and then called her every 5 minutes or dogged her out or then told her, no, I don't want you to do it if it's going to take you out of the house. He found a way to make it happen. And I can respect that. Again, there are times when Joe get on my nerves, but I can respect that Joe did that. Again, was it somewhat selfish? But I mean, we do a lot of things for selfish reasons that don't make them bad decisions. I mean, we do nice things all the time for selfish reasons. Anyway, moving on. So, Ashley is out of the bar where Chris has a job. He's a bartender. And they bring her dad in. And she's surprised and she's crying. And she's so happy to see him. And they're like, yeah, we need to talk. Ashley, we're here to talk about some things, Ashley. We're here to talk about some things. So, of course, Ashley is like, oh, here we go with this bullshit. So we see them go to lunch, right? First of all, Ashley is late. They're waiting on her. She gets there, and again, I understand that it's an edited scene, but from what I saw, I feel like the conversation was, what is your plan, and how are you going to make that happen? And the problem is, you don't have a plan, Ashley. You want them to just keep giving you things till you figure it out. I get it. We don't all have it figured out at 19, 20 years old. We don't all know what we want to do with the rest of our lives at 19, 20. And society tells us that we got to figure it out by the time we graduate from high school. I get that. But I also feel like your parents gave you that leeway to figure it out. You took a gap year. You went to community college. It sounds like you flunked out of community college. You did an internship. You couldn't get your ass to work on time for the internship. You had a job, and she said that wasn't good enough because I had a job and I didn't have enough hours. Because, girl, you were working part-time. Girl, you live at home. You're not paying any rent. You're not paying any bills. The only bill you're responsible for is your car note. I don't even know if they making you pay your own car insurance. They just make you pay the car note, okay? Which is $500 a month. Even working part-time somewhere, and I mean, I know that was 2011, but even working part-time somewhere, girl, I feel like you could have brought home $500 in a paycheck. But they probably were like, you need to be working. Because I know that's how my mama would have been. My mama would have been like, you need to be working a 40-hour-a-week job or you need to be in school. But we can't do the in-between. Now, if you in school part-time and you working part-time, I can work with that. But you can't be working part-time and then the rest of your life you just out partying, which is what they said she's doing. They're like, she's just out all night partying and drinking, even though she's not even 21 yet. But that's what it is. And remember, they had that rule about her staying out late, but it looks like they've bent on that rule and they've allowed her to kind of come in when she wants to come in. And I get it, she's 20. I mean, she's not 18 anymore, she's 20. That makes a little bit of a difference as far as a curfew is concerned. I get that. But again, they're asking you what your plan is and how you're going to make it happen. And so her dad was like, she texted him and was like, I'm going to California. Are you going to pay for it? So you're not just being a brat with your mama. You're being a brat with everybody. So she says she wants to move to California. She wants to do makeup, which we know now she is actually a makeup artist now. So congratulations. You figured it out, girl. You figured it out. But at this point, she wanted to do makeup. And she wanted to go to beauty school, but she wanted to go to California. So they were like, do you have enough money saved up? And she was like, well, I've saved. No, they were like, how you going to make it happen? And she was like, well, I have some money saved up. I have enough money for somewhere to live, but I need y'all to pay for school. Okay, so you don't really have the plan because you just want them to pay for school. And her mom was like, I don't think you have enough money saved up to live off of. Like, you live at home right now, you don't pay any bills. And she was like, I'm aware, I know. But again, Ashley, you think you have it figured out and you do not. So they're trying to explain to you, like, have you looked up rent in California? Do you know what the average apartment goes for in California? That was in 2011. Do you have anybody out there that you could be a roommate with? Like, when you say you've saved up money, you saved up money how, girl? Then they brought up the fact that she didn't buy, that they didn't get the parents anything for Christmas. And her father told her, that's really messed up. Like, that is messed up that he was like, you could have got a picture of you with your brothers and gave it to her, and I think she would have been fine with that. She was like, and Jacqueline was like, she could have got me a card. Like, there was nothing. He said, but I bet you if you woke up and there was nothing under the tree for you. She even walked in the door and said, when she got there late, the first thing she said was, for Christmas next year, I want a TomTom. And Chris was like, the TomTom, for those of y'all who don't know, a TomTom is a navigation system. We don't need them anymore. We got our phones. But it was a navigation system back in the day. So she wants a navigation system. And she said, for Christmas next year, I want a navigation system. Mind you, Christmas just passed and you didn't even have the decency to buy your mom a damn gift for Christmas. But you want them to buy you something for Christmas. Then, bringing that back around, Chris says, I have a TomTom at the house that I'm not using. She was like, can I have it? He said, yeah. Without hesitation. Without hesitation, he said, I have one, you can have it. So even in the midst of them telling you, girl, you need to get it together, they're still helping you. They still have your back. They're still doing nice things for you. Because Chris could have sat there and not said shit. So then, what pissed me off, I think what really did it for me in this moment was Jacqueline. Ashley was like, I'm 20 years old. And like, I don't have any kids. I don't have any. And so everybody at the table, even her stepmom was like, because they knew that was a dig at Jacqueline because Jacqueline already had a child by the time she was 20. And basically Jasmine was like, listen, I'm not that messed up. Like, I'm not that messed up that, like, I'm not where you were. And Jacqueline was like, yeah, I had a child by the time I was 20 and I was still more responsible than you are. Like, what point are you trying to make? And at that point, everybody, I think, was like, wow. Like, Ashley, that is disrespectful. So in her confessional, and then she said something about, I didn't decide to have 2 kids. You did. Like, I'm not your babysitter. And Jacqueline was like, wow. Like, at the very least, she said, you live here. You live with us. You don't pay any bills. You don't pay any rent. At the very least, if I have something to do, you can watch your brothers for an hour. Like, I don't think that's too much to ask. Like, it's not about you being my babysitter. And her father was like, those are your brothers. What are you talking about? Then she gonna say in her confessional, and this is what did it for me. I said, Ashley, this is what did it for me. She said, when you got pregnant with me, and she said this in her confessional, and you decided to have kids, and she said you decided to have me, then I don't think, like, all of that was on you. That's not on me. So I'm supposed to reward you for being for making sacrifices for me. I didn't ask to be here. Basically is what she said. I was like, oh, this chick is crazy as fuck. Now, I did hear in this conversation where they brought up depression. And again, in hindsight, we know, because I think Jacqueline or one of them said something about, she says that she's too depressed to get up and go to work some days, but she's never too depressed to go out and party. Well, I mean, in 2023, we understand that that's not how depression works. But again, I understand from their vantage point in that moment, feeling the way they feel, right? Jacqueline ended up getting up, and she is in tears. Like, these are real tears. Like, listen, y'all know that cry when you're trying to talk and you can't talk, and it's like, I can't, I try so hard. She was doing that cry. Like, that's that real cry. That's not the fake cry. That is the real cry, right? She is bawling. Jacqueline, she's like, I just don't understand why she hates me. Like, I feel like my daughter hates me and I don't know why. Like, she doesn't treat her father like this. And I don't know what I've done to make her hate me so much. Chris comes over and she's like, Chris, I'm done. Like, I'm done. He said, you know what? I'm done too. He said, I'm done too. Like, I don't know what else to do. And at this point, and that's what she told her. She said, you know what? You can get out of my house and you can figure it out on your own. Since I'm such a horrible person and since I want so much for you, you know what? You can figure it out on your own. You can get out my house. And I'm like, no, I don't think they're going to stick to it. But I'm here for it. Anyway, that was the episode. We ain't finished with Miss Ashley. In the next episode, the conversation carries over into the house, and I don't know what ends up happening, but I'm here for it. Okay, let me know what y'all think. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.